That is where your great-grandmother Gaga grew up. Your great-great-grandfather was once the richest man in Boston.
So how come we're so poor?
Would you like to see the inside?
Are we allowed? You can't just walk up and knock on people's doors.
Sweetheart, it's Boston. They're practically expecting us.
My father was diagnosed manic depressive in 1967.
Can I help you?
My great-grandmother grew up in this house, and, well, I wanted to show it to my girl.
I'm sorry, but I don't give tours.
That was so embarrassing! He met my mother and told her all about his nervous breakdowns. She didn't care.
Why can't Daddy live here with us?
Daddy's still recovering from his breakdown.
He's a way better cook than you.
So they got married, and they had me.
Oh.
And then my sister.
I got into Columbia.
You can't take the girls to New York.
Here's my proposal.
We love you.
Bye. You move in with the girls and you take care of them.
We're gonna be late for school!
Me? It'd be good for me to have...
A routine.
Hold on! Yes, a routine. Have some breakfast. It's the most important meal of the day. Amelia, let's go! That's a lot of routine.
You can do it.
Is this something to do with feminism?
You're all welcome to come to our apartment.
We don't want people to see how we live.
Big deal how you live. It's not your fault.
Girls tell me it has no floor.
It had no floor. I scavenged these from your kitchen.
Why do you have so much stuff? Our dad is totally polar bear. Bipolar. You're probably sorry you married him.
Never.
I love you. You want me to pick you up after school? No! I'll be here at 3.
My ex-husband would never do what you're doing. I think it's so evolved.
We do.
Most men would be completely emasculated by having their wife go off to be the breadwinner.
Oh, thank you.
Hey guys, thanks so much for being here. Congratulations on a really beautiful, a really moving film and 2 incredible performances, guys. Congratulations.
Thank you.
They are wonderful. Thank you.
And now this, I've read that this was an autobiographical story for you, right? So, my first question was, it's an autobiographical story. How hard is it for you to cast someone who's supposed to be playing a version of your father, and then, of course, a version of you?
Well, when I was writing the script, I actually tried really hard not to think about anybody, except for my father, just because that was sort of impossible. But then Mark read the script, and I met him, and he just had he had the qualities that I was looking for, which is that I felt like he understood the difficult things that the character goes through from a very deep, real place, could do it very authentically. He was very funny. He had a great sense of humor, and I felt like Mark needs to be funny in the movies more. He's such a funny person. And, you are funny in the movies, but you know what I mean.
I agree.
You don't take that right? Okay.
I want to be more funny in more funny movies.
You're always funny in a very realistic way. I feel like every
Exactly.
time I've seen you in this building, I've run up to you and been like, you can count on me, you can count on me. And you are so funny and beautifully realistic in that movie. You're not telling jokes. You're just sort of being kind of oddly comical.
Thank you.
Yes, funny from a human place, real true humor. And
There's really just pain and suffering under all that, though.
but that's what I liked about you. So those qualities, and I could tell that Mark was a good father, and that's what this is about. It's about a person who is a complicated person, but at the core is a good father. And then for the version of myself, it is easier when you cast your daughter.
Were you worried about working with your daughter?
Yes, I was. I was worried about is she going to be completely screwed up? Were you completely screwed up doing this movie?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Imogen, how old are you?
I'm 13.
Okay, so you were shooting this when you were maybe 11, 12?
11.
So you were still at like a good age where like everything your mother says to you, you don't want to say no yet just because it's your mom.
Yeah.
So, okay. I can't imagine
But it
doing
was
that
right
now.
on the edge.
Right on the edge. Like, can you step over here? No, I'm not going to do that, Mom.
Why?
Yes, exactly. Why? No, she was great, and she was still young enough that I feel like, Imogene, would you say that you it was almost like you were just sort of pretending, you were kind of playing. Do you feel?
Yeah, I guess, yeah. But I was acting.
Yes. I don't mean to make it sound easy, but she was in a
Don't
good
trivialize
place.
her performance,
no,
Mom.
I don't mean to trivialize it. It's really great. But there's a freshness and an innocence to it, I guess I would say.
I would say that, yep.
Mark,
Made me better.
Mark, talk about portraying someone with mental illness, because there's so many different ways that one can go about it. There's playing it big, there's playing it small, there's the fear, I bet, of sort of making things funny that might not be funny for other people existing with that illness. How do you sort of deal with that pressure and toe the lines?
Well, I'm not unfamiliar with mental illness myself. I have some family members who are bipolar, so I understood how that acts. But really, I think you just play it as honestly as possible and find out who that guy was. And he was this incredibly fun, curious, childlike man. And he just happens to be bipolar. And first it was really trying to get who Cam was. That was the most important thing. And then the bipolar stuff was just really being as honest as you could in the most extreme ways. But at the end of the day, it's really, he's just another person. He's just another person dealing with a mental illness, if you want to call it that. But it's so around us all the time. I was at a screening and I asked the people how many people had family members or were mentally ill, and like 80% of the You're welcome to participate. Well, yeah. So 10% of the people here, but 80% of the people on the screening that I was at were new mentally ill people or were mentally ill. So it's everywhere. It's not like this is some precious, rare thing.
Well, I think that's what most movies tend to do. They tend to treat mental illness or illness in general as a precious, rare thing. So every sort of flail, everything that is unique to that person becomes very, very, very precious and regarded with a certain amount of either this aspect of their illness is a plot point for the story rather than what it is, which is seemingly random at times.
Yeah, and I think Maya did a really good job of staying away from those pitfalls and really,
Well, I just tried to remember what my father was like, and he was a very all the things that Mark said, but he was also very theatrical, which was,
I didn't notice that.
especially with cigarettes. I think that he'd grown up watching all these cool guys, Belmondo or something in the movies, and with the cigarettes, and so he was just a very theatrical person to add, not because he was mentally ill, but so we just tried to capture the totality of that person. And living with mental illness is a really serious thing, but it's not the only aspect of your personality, of who you are.
Absolutely. Imogene, talk to me about being your mom, playing your mom as a character, and sort of most of us have scrapbooks of what their parents' childhoods were like. We didn't get to work for 30 days to produce a version of it.
Well, I think it was a really important experience for me because I really didn't understand. My mother told me a lot about her childhood, but I didn't really understand what it was like. And doing this movie, I got to see what it was like to grow up in poverty, to grow up with a bipolar father, and a mother who wasn't really there because she was trying to make a living for you. And I also really got to understand who my grandfather was because he died before I was born, so I never got to meet him. And so doing the film, I got to kind of know him, which is really unique.
It's a little bit like a living scrapbook.
Yeah. Did it give you a new appreciation for your mother and her childhood?
I think it definitely did.
She does everything I say now.
Yeah, this is just
really
a great.
bad for me.
This is just a great setup for those teenage years. How was it working with Mark?
Working with Mark was a very, very, very cool experience. Working with Mark and also Zoe was like taking an acting class because I really didn't have any experience at all. And they would always give me advice and they'd help me with what I was doing. And I know for a fact that I couldn't have done it without them.
But we had mostly just a lot of fun.
Yes, definitely a lot of fun.
Mark, what kind of help do you give a young actor on the set like that? Like, I mean, you don't want to. Everybody has a process, even if they don't even know that they have a process. So how do you get involved without stopping them, without cutting them short? How do you know how to handle it?
Well, the great thing about working with kids is that you shouldn't do it. No. The great thing is about working with kids is first of all they don't really lie, and secondly they can be really spontaneous, and for me that's a lot of fun. I mean, there were times when we would totally, all three of us, get completely out of control, and Maya would have to yell at us to stop. But there's so much. Cam is like one of them in the movie, and so depending on the film, you can either kind of let yourself run away with that energy, or you have to control it. I found myself at sometimes screaming at them, but also at other times really just joining in the brouhaha, and but I also, there was moments where I know you were finding your way. And so we would keep it open. I mean, we would just keep rolling, and I would just talk to her, and I knew
while rolling.
Yeah,
so
while we were rolling, and there was times I'd like do that again, or I'd feed her to the line again in a different way, and so I knew I could help out while I was acting inside of it to make them feel comfortable.
He also would give very, very specific, very simple instructions, such as there's a scene where Mark's character is trying to leave, and the daughter doesn't want him to leave, and you said to Imogene, just get in my way. Just get in front of me, try to stop me from leaving. Because we were having trouble with that scene, giving it the energy we wanted. So, that's very simple, and thank you.
You're welcome.
Working with children on set is so fascinating to me, especially, if it's your own child, because, you have this situation where you also have to get things out of them because you're losing light. Or you have to do things for very practical reasons that an actor like Mark probably knows how to hit his spot, knows how to make it happen really quickly. I would hope so at this point. No, I'm just kidding.
I still struggle with that. I say if you're having fun, you're not on your mark. And a lot of actors would agree with me.
But how do you manage that with your child? How do you, if this is a brand new thing for her, how do you manage the professional aspect of it rather than just the fun part of it?
Well, we had a great first AD, but I mean the kids were really they were both smart girls, and they picked it up really fast. And we were in very small spaces, so if you weren't on your mark, you were about 8 inches away from it.
Surprisingly, or not surprisingly, they caught on to that aspect of it quickly. It was more trying to recreate things, or one of the big problems we had was we were all laughing so much at some of the stuff that was happening that to try to hold a straight face during some of it was the more difficult part. And kids don't lie well, so when they're having a good time and they're trying to act like they're having a bad time, that became our biggest problem.
Stop smiling.
Yes, Maya would be like through a little speaker, stop smiling!
How often were you addicted to making the kids laugh making them break on camera and getting in trouble?
How often did I do? I don't think it was that often. I had to yell at them a couple times.
He would help me, and he would yell at them too.
Was I mean to you ever?
No, you weren't mean.
I don't believe you.
Imogene, did you love?
Say it again.
Did you like the experience?
I did. It was weird. I was a 5th grader. I missed 2.5 months of school. I was in a place where I had never spent any time. I didn't know anybody. In pre-production, I had nothing to do all day. But, I mean...
It sounds great.
It was really fun.
You're really selling it for us.
But then we started filming, and I really got to know so many different people, and I definitely want to pursue acting.
It wasn't glamorous, though.
No, it wasn't glamorous.
So what did your friends think when they found out that you were working with Mark?
Who?
Sorry, I didn't want to. I mean, the Hulk.
Thought it was really cool.
They did?
Yeah.
Have you found that the Avengers has given you the opportunity to do even more movies like this, and to also at the same time help promote them even more and get them seen a little bit more?
Well, yeah, there's no doubt that the success of that movie and the penetration of that movie has helped with little movies. These are really, I really love making these kinds of movies, and they can be really hard to get made. And the fact that, I have a box office something or another, I don't know what it is they call it, but I have something.
Blockbuster.
A blockbuster. A blockbuster. That means that for some reason it's easier to get movies financed. And so I've been using it quite selfishly to do the things that I also really love to do. I mean, I love doing those movies, but I also love what the little movies afford. Did it help us, do you think?
Yes, it definitely helped. That I had Mark Ruffalo and Zoe Saldana, the green and the blue.
It's like a Miles Davis
Right,
album.
the Guardians and the Avengers, right? I mean, that's kind of amazing that because you've always been making movies like this. You know, like as I said before, you started, or people saw you for the first time in a small movie, You Can Count on Me, and then there was another of other films in between those. You had some Zodiac and some other small films as well. But with the success of the Avengers, you're going to be able to get these films seen more, you think? That's the hope.
Let's hope. Yes, I think so. I mean, at least people, we get to be on AOL.
Hi.
Yeah.
So I think that it's definitely helpful.
When you're making a movie like
You
this,
still have to have a great movie at the end, You still
Which
have,
you do.
You have
Which-
to be great. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. When you're making a
He
movie
said
like
that.
this, what?
I said he said it was a great movie.
No one told me to. It's a great movie. When you're making a movie like this and you're casting, how important is it that you have someone like Mark Ruffalo, that you have someone like Zoe Saldana? Not just because they turn out phenomenal performances when you get on set, but when you're trying to put the movie together.
Well, I think it is always helpful. I mean, I think you try and approach it from who do I really think is going to be the best person in this role, and it just happened to be that Mark, you weren't the Hulk when you first came onto the movie, no. So we weren't there. He wasn't in the Avengers yet, so he was attached to my film first. And then I think when they...
So you were attached to the film, sorry to interrupt, you were attached to the film like, what, 6-7 years ago at this point?
2010, I think.
5 years ago.
Yeah. I was attached to it before I'd been cast in Avengers.
It's always unbelievable how long it takes to get some of the smaller movies financed and made.
Yeah, yes. And so that was sort of a boon for us, but obviously he was cast before that became a something that worked in our favor. Yeah.
Mark, you're a father, right?
I am, of 3 children.
You have 3 children. So did you think about them a lot while you were doing this film? Wait, hold on a second. Why are you laughing at me? You just went like this when I asked the question.
Yeah, why was that?
I was just thinking about how much he did miss his children.
Aww.
That's
I did.
true.
I missed them.
Yeah.
Incredible save.
They came. Yes. Good actress.
Really incredible.
You learned well, Grasshopper. I really understand the nature of I spend a lot of time with my kids, and it's like herding cats, and so you're drawing on that, and I also know what they mean to me and how much I love them and care about them, and I think it definitely helps having kids playing a part like this in a way that probably if I didn't have kids, I couldn't quite understand in the same way.
How has having kids affected your outlook on your career and acting in general?
Well, all I used to care about was acting, and now all I care about is how much time I'm going to get to hang out it's been a big shift in my priorities. You know, I worked really hard for a long time just with this single focus of acting and getting a career and getting to play great parts. And now I feel that kind of shifting into, you know, spending as much time with them as I can before they basically go off and start their own lives.
Let's take some questions. Do you have some questions here?
Hi, I'm Catherine. I'm with Cambio, which is AOL site for young women. And this question is for Mark. One of our contributors wrote in to ask, which movie touched you the most from the moment that you read the script in your entire career?
In my entire career. To be honest with you, there's been a few movies that have really touched me, but this one in particular really knocked me down, and rarely do I ever go after a script as aggressively as I did this one. I read it and immediately had a very kind of emotional response to it. I have bipolar in my own family, so I understood the nature of that and how difficult that can be, living with that, but also, you know, how much these kids mean to him, and how trying to balance that and have a normal family and have love kind of holding it all together was so beautifully laid out in Maya's script.
That's a good answer.
Acting.
Mark, you seem as an actor as someone, I don't know if it's it's just that you have great taste in projects, but you seem to be an actor who's been able to not just pick and choose, but once you reached a certain level of fame, pick the best things for you. I'm thinking Foxcatcher, Begin Again, things that speak specifically to you and feel like projects that you really care about.
Yeah, I mean, I made it a point. So I come from the theater, and the theater is a place where there's really no typecasting. You could play anything. So the whole idea that you would only do one kind of movie or play one kind of part was totally alien to me, but it's something that Hollywood really likes to do to actors. And so I've always sort of tried to I made a promise to myself not to be sucky or boring. And the only way that I really thought that I could do that was being really engaged and interested in the parts that I played, and really felt like they turned me on emotionally and you know, frightened me sometimes, or scared me or excited me, or challenged me, and by using those criteria, I feel like I've kind of gotten to have the career that's authentic to me.
Have you ever had a part that didn't do those things for you, that you had to show up for a few days and be like, ugh?
Is there fire?
That's a siren. That's a siren telling you not to name the movie. Not to name the movie.
No, you know, I have to say, everything that I've done, I haven't had to really ever take a job just because of the money, and I haven't ever taken a job because I was coerced into it or anything like that. Maybe date night. My agents really wanted me to do a funny movie, and that was not funny, and I learned a valuable lesson at that moment, which was never to do a movie that your agents want you to do.
Do they usually not want you to do most of the movies that you choose? With the exception of the Avengers, I'm sure they were like, yes, go.
No, it was just a particular time in my career where I was feeling like maybe I pretty much played it out, and I was kind of desperate, and someone was saying, maybe you need to shake it up. You need to do a comedy. And I'm like, but I thought I was funny. Not that kind of funny. And
the unfunny kind of funny.
This is a real funny.
Right.
We want
You're
funny.
Really funny.
I love Mark Ruffalo as the agent right now. This is like a great impression.
No, it was, and they were. Listen, I asked for it, and it wasn't their fault. They did have, my best intention in mind. It wasn't malicious or anything. But it was the one time where I didn't read it and go, I gotta play this, or. I love Steve Carell and I love the people involved with it, but I didn't really know what to do with it, where I could sink my teeth into it, find that really sturdy ground I could stand on, where I knew what I was doing, and I saw it and I was like, what the hell am I doing in this movie? I don't deserve to be in that movie. That's sucky and boring. Me, not the movie, me.
Yeah. Let's take another question right here.
Hi, so first of all, you can never be sucky and boring, by the way, Mark Ruffalo. And my question really is for Maya Forbes. How are you able to blend motherhood and being an independent film director? And my second question is, when did you know that your cool dad was not like other dads because he was fortunate to have a different type of mind?
Let's see, okay. Blending. Well, I feel like I kind of marched into, I wanted to make the movie, and that was my top goal. I wanted to make the movie, I wanted to direct the movie, and I didn't think too much about all the other stuff that was going to be required of my life. And I may not have, if I had been really thinking about how difficult it would have been daunting. But my husband was a producer of the film. My daughter was in the film. I mean, I guess I'd say it takes a village to make an independent movie, and my whole family kind of got brought in. But it is, I mean, it's a big challenge, and I don't know. I'm still sorting out like what is the answer for this, and how do we get more women to make more movies? The women need to direct the movies, at least 50%, if not more. I agree.
I love women direct. I'm a feminist, by the way.
Mark, you are a feminist, and didn't you get into some sort of dust up on the internet recently because of your feminism?
I guess that's what people say. I don't know. People who aren't feminists, I didn't know there were any left in the world.
I didn't either.
I thought we pretty much came to the 50-50, like that was cool conclusion.
Yeah. I think the quoted headline that I saw, which I loved, and which you should say to any anti-feminist that you meet, which is "kiss my ass, you ignorant jerks," something like that, right?
I was attributed to that. No, it was I reblogged a post on Tumblr that ended with "kiss my ass, you ignorant jerks." Now that's not really my style.
That's what I got to be honest. I've interviewed before, and that was what I thought too. I was like, I didn't think he would.
Yeah, it's not my style, but the substance of the piece I really agreed with, which was basically, it was women saying that feminism basically sucked, and the woman was saying if you enjoy a lot of things that feminists, people starve to death in a prison cell so that you could vote today, People put their lives on the line so that you had freedoms, that you could join the workforce. It was a long piece talking about the historical and important ramifications of the feminist movement. And in the end, she said, and you could kiss my ass, you little jerk, if you don't, agree with me. Now, that's not my style, but I reblogged that. And for some reason, everyone thought that I wrote it. And which is fine, except for the person who wrote it should be the one who gets credit for it. Anyway, I think that's what the dust up was about. I'm usually more a little bit. I don't really. That's not my style. To someone to kiss my ass, you ignorant.
I mean, I think the dust up was 98% of people being like, yeah, and 2% of people being like, hey.
Yeah. So, but you only hear from the 2% who are like, hey.
Let's take another question.
My name is Dutch. I have a question for Mark.
Dude.
I want to preface by saying I'm a huge fan of not only your acting, but your water defense. And
Thank you.
By my Mark Buffalo water defense t-shirt.
That's my water defense t-shirt.
Massive fan. I always tweet probably about once a week that you're the actor of our generation. But anyway.
Thank you.
What I want to say is that earlier this month, you gave a speech at Dickinson College, and you said that the word activist isn't a dirty word. And I thought that was great. Can you talk about how awesome it is that or how it feels to be touching so many young children, to be doing extraordinary things with their lives and pushing forward and to, kind of break that mold?
if that's true, I feel very humbled by it. You know, I see this generation, this coming generation, a lot of you people here, as a really special group of people that can really do extraordinary things in the world because, and you too, you're already doing it. Do you know that she has a club at school called the Friendly Fifth Graders? And what? Tell them what you did.
The Friendly Fifth Graders sat with the younger kids at lunch and played with them and helped them like sort out their little arguments.
I'm proud.
But I do not go to that school anymore. But the Friendly Fifth Graders are continuing on with the
And you
growing
started
children.
that, right?
She was a founding member.
She's the founding member. Like, I guess what I'm getting at is how many fifth graders that I went to fifth grade with would ever do that? None, zero, zippo. It was like the furious
they
fighting,
were not nice.
fracking fifth graders. But it isn't. You know, it isn't me, is what I guess I'm saying. It's like it's. I see something coming up in the culture that is actually more conscious than my generation was. And all I'm doing is basically kind of admiring you for it and telling you it's okay and to keep doing it, and that if we're going to make the changes that I think that you guys see need to be made, then we have to be active. So I said act up, buck the system, and don't be afraid of fracking anybody. And that's how we're going to get the change, and I already see it happening. And so that's what I'm just basically what I'm seeing is exciting to me, and all I'm doing on the platform that I can do it is say yes to you. So yes. Okay.
Next question.
We have time for one more.
Hi. First off, I wanted to say thank you to Maya. I actually have ADHD, and my wife has high anxiety and depression. So to see a movie being made like this, it like strikes a good spot in my heart, like 100%. But for Mark, I wanted to ask you a question as an actor. You said that you have a history of bipolar in your family, and you also said that you have ADHD, which is great. How did you use that from your history? Did you talk to those family members, or did you just draw upon your own experiences with them to make this character that is Maya's father?
Well, the most important thing is, and you'll know this, can I swear?
Yes.
An asshole is an asshole whether they have ADHD or not. And Cam happens to be a great guy who happens to also have bipolar. Now, I understand, because I've grown up around it, like what bipolar does to a person when they're in their mania or in their depression. But the real important thing is who's the person. And we put these labels on people that are really limiting, and they carry a lot of weird stereotypes and all kinds of weird things that don't really reflect the nature of who they are. So for me, getting to know Cam, Maya's father, was an important part of me. I want to hear what you have to say about that, because you really grew up with it.
Well, I guess I just wrote him. This is who my father was, and we just approached it all just from a very human place, and it just, everything had to feel authentic. But it's, I guess, oh gosh, I don't know. Help me, Mark.
Everything, but
Imogene, take over.
So when we
help me, Imogene,
help us.
Help me.
I guess what I'd say is at the end of the day, you know, there's attributes to someone who's bipolar that are fun to play, and I understand you could play it, and they're extremities. So a part like this is really fun as an actor because you get to go everywhere, And but at the end of the day, essentially, we're talking about people here. And whether you're ADHD or depressed or whatever, the whole world is made up of all kinds of different kinds of people who have all kinds of different qualities that they're struggling with in one way or another. And most of the time, we're living side by side with them. We don't even know the labels that their doctors or so on and so forth put on them. But that's the beauty of the fabric of people and this wonderful whatever journey that we're on, this messy, crazy journey. And that's what I think this movie reflects so well.
Absolutely. Yes. I think that's all the time that we have, guys.
No,
Thanks.
we're staying for a little while longer.
Please, I have more questions. We can keep going. No, thank you so much.
Thank you.